Hello and welcome back to Lessons in Attachment. I am Carly Ann. I am a therapist and attachment coach, and today I get to talk to you about something that is actually really important to me, something I'm really passionate about. It's something that might be running in the background of your mind every day, having quite a bit of control over your life, and you'll be aware of that possibly, or completely unaware of it, maybe even a mixture of both. I'm talking about your inner critic. So we all have an inner critic, let's be honest. But the thing is if you have an anxious attachment style, that inner voice can be, in fact, let me say insecure attachment style. That inner voice can be especially harsh. And the difference is, so yes, everyone has an inner critic. People with an anxious attachment, the key difference is that you don't just hear this voice, you don't just experience it on a day to day, but you believe it when it tells you that you're not good enough. When it tells you that you need to be a certain way if you're going to be liked, or if you're going to fit in, or if you're going to be loved. It's going to tell you that you have to settle, that you need to put up with these crumbs because you're not going to find anything else. And it's going to call you names, and it's going to be harsh if you make a mistake, or if something doesn't work out for you the way that you want it to. It's going to tell you that you shouldn't take risks towards a happier life because it will all go wrong for you because things don't work out. It's really harsh. And like I say, the thing is you believe it. You like truly listen to it, and it ends up really impacting the decisions that you're making and how you are living your life. And we have to put a stop to that. We have to, because you have a life to live, love to give, love to receive, calm to feel, like peace to experience, uniqueness, gifts, all of the things. You often will trust this critical voice, and it will show up louder in certain situations. It will show up louder on certain days, or things that really, hit home in terms of triggering you. And like I say, it impacts the decisions that you're making. People end up accepting poor treatment, crumbs in relationships, putting up with rubbish from their colleagues, taking on like such a lot of the load, at work. That was terrible English, but you know what I mean. Just putting up with things that you don't deserve, not setting boundaries. Maybe because you believe that's all you deserve, or if it's not what you believe, but something in you is making the decision that this is enough, this is okay, when it's not okay, because you deserve so much more. You deserve to set boundaries, you deserve to take risks, you deserve to say yes or say no in areas of your life that you want to. And I want you to just pause for a second and really think about this. How does it feel for you in your body? How does it feel when you criticize yourself? That pressure, the weight of never measuring up, because it's rough, it's exhausting. And I think sometimes we need to reflect on that, because unless we do, we will just keep staying in it. We need to decide, like, I don't want to live like this anymore. Think of a time recently that you were really hard on yourself. Maybe you made a mistake at work, or sent a message that you overanalyzed for hours. Maybe, it's not always that you made a mistake and you'll still criticize yourself. But imagine that a friend, someone that you really care about, came to you with that same situation. What would you say to them? What kind of tone of voice would you use with them? Would you tear them down? Would you call them names? Would you swear at them? Or would you remind them of the great things about themselves? Would you remind them that they're a good person? Would you remind them of the, the strengths that they have, the other good things that they've done? Would you help them to try and solve an issue, to actually problem solve, or just be there for them? And what if a child came to you with a problem that's as similar as it can be, for a child? How would you speak to them? What would you say to them? What tone of voice would you use? And how, the way that you would speak to your friend or this young person, how does that compare to the way that you speak to yourself? This can be a really simple but hugely powerful shift to practice. In fact, practice that this week. That can really be the gem that you take away from this episode. In the last round of Becoming Secure, of course, I work with self-compassion and a lot of compassion-focused therapy. But one of the biggest takeaways really seemed to be kind of a thread through what people experienced was to be kinder to myself, to remember to be kinder to myself. So it's so important that we just pause, notice how we're talking to ourselves, and start to make that simple shift of talking to ourselves like we would a friend. If I was to put this into 2 steps for you for this next week that you can take away from this episode and practice, I would say number one, notice when you're being hard on yourself. You're not always going to get that right. Sometimes you're going to miss it and you're going to notice it on reflection. But as much as you can, notice when you're being hard on yourself and really get familiar with the exact words that you're using, because then you're going to be more likely to recognize them. If you know the language you use, if you know the words that you use with yourself, when you're having that inner dialogue, you're going to be more likely to catch yourself. So that is the first step. Notice when you're being hard on yourself. Step two, instead of following that voice, instead of spiraling with your inner critic, because that will impact how you're feeling, instead ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this moment? And then, as much as you can, treat yourself with that kindness, with those words. Yeah, I bet you don't judge people half as much as you judge yourself. This is a moment for change. It's time to access your inner best friend, your most compassionate self. That's what I'm here to help people to do, to really connect with that inner best friend. That's when we become more secure, when we're able to access that kind of inner dialogue with ourselves and how we treat ourselves, the voice that lifts us up instead of bringing us down, especially when things aren't going well, especially when things haven't gone to plan. That's when we need our self-love. That's when we need our self-compassion more than ever. I'm thinking that next week I will be sharing why this pattern exists in the first place. We can have a conversation around that. But for now, just bring awareness to it. And of course, if you're ready to go deeper and truly rewrite the way that you talk to and treat yourself, my 10-week course, Becoming Secure, starts again on the 24th of Feb. You're invited to join and really start creating that healthier, more compassionate voice to connect with that secure self. If you really, just feel like you've got to this place where the anxiety, the overthinking, the worrying, the staying small has got to a place where you're just feeling stuck and you need to break free, this could be a really good time to do that, to join me, have me as your coach, as your mentor, and we will really make these shifts together. But remember, for this week, number one, notice when you're being hard on yourself. And number two, ask yourself, what would I say to a friend in this moment? This is something that I did with myself, and it made such a huge difference to how secure I was and helping me to develop self-compassion with myself. And that is a huge part of healing. Okay. Thank you for being here. Come over and follow me on Instagram if you're not already, carly.ann_. Please do the subscribing and those kind of things just so that I can really get this podcast out, to the people that need it. And just, bigger podcasts are, the better guests you get on and things like that. And I will be back here with you very soon.